Hey traders, and welcome to Jackrabbit Trader. My name is Steve, and in this video we're going to take a look at the weekly pullback trade. Last week we talked about a weekly breakout, and I want to give you another example of a trade setup that you can use to trade the weekly chart consistently. If you're new here, we're putting out new videos every Wednesday, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. With that said, let's get started. Alright, so last week we talked about the weekly breakout, and I told you everything started in the scan. And there's no difference here with the scan or what we're looking for from the scan. We're really looking for the scan to take the S&P 500 and whittle it down to a more manageable number than 500 trades to look at. So when I run the scan today on September 30th, I know this video is coming out in a few weeks, but you know, it gives us all this list, and it's 31 trades. So we took it from 500 to 31 trades, and then you have to put in some work, right? Now you have to go through and make sure that the setups are what you want to see in your own setup, whatever that may be. Last week we talked about the weekly breakout. This week we're going to talk about a weekly pullback. And I'm going to go to a trade that I made in Facebook first, and then we'll look at a trade that I'm currently in that are both working off of this weekly pullback idea. All right, so here in Facebook, again, we're looking at the 3-year weekly chart. You can see that there was a breakout trade in play. So what that is again, you know, real quick, just to summarize last week, stock consolidates between support and resistance, all right, ultimately breaks out, and therefore it's a breakout trade. All right, this one had a target of 194. All right, went up, hit that target, and then started pulling back. And this is where the weekly pullback trade comes into play. So we already know that we like the long-term perspective on the stock, right? Because we're using those moving averages to identify long-term trends as well as short-term trends. So we know that the trend of the stock itself is higher. All right, so then when we start to look at the next part of the scan, which is where the close is higher than the previous high, okay, so the current close is higher than the previous high. That's why we get not only the breakout trade but also the pullback trade, because in both situations that is a critical element that to me confirms either a breakout or a reversal. And that's why we wait till Fridays and Saturdays to really analyze these setups, because it's very possible that it may be breaking out on Monday, but by Friday it's below the previous week's high and therefore is not a trade. So what happened here? Again, stock moved up, hit a target, and then started pulling back. And this is where the weekly pullback trade starts to take shape. All right, so in this situation, and again, you would be notified of it because of the high closing above the previous, or the closing above the previous week's high. But you have these highs of the previous candles are consistently lower, right? You see that here? So here was a lower high, a lower high, a lower high, a lower high, a lower high. This by itself is a hammer pattern, right, where it has an exhaustion to the downside. Of course, in this situation, came right back into a previous support level. So again, the reason I love trading with support and resistance. And then ultimately, the next candle, what happened, right? The high or the close was higher than the previous week's high, right? And that's right here. So here, and this is a trend reversal, all right? Or in our situation, or what I'm terming to be a weekly pullback trade. So how do you trade it? Okay, again, you see that downtrend, boom, 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 right? Ultimately, finally get the close higher. Here is the signal bar, right? This proves our entry. This comes up on our scans because of that one aspect of it. All right, so this is a trade that you want to take to the upside. Your stop goes below the previous week's low, because if you're doing it right, You're entering on the week following, right, the ultimate low, right, because it's when it finally goes and starts to go back up. All right, so here it is, comes down, exhaustion to the downside, a close above the previous week's high, stop goes below, I'll just put it in here with a weird looking circle, but below the previous week's low. All right, so in this situation, got in the trade 180, 146, stop was down here at 160, and let's turn on my trades and see how I actually manage this trade. Okay, so I bought 32 shares at 185. I took off 16, so took off half at the previous target. Remember, in a pullback trade, a little bit different than a breakout trade, you're always going to have your first target is going to be at the previous high. Okay, so if we zoom in here, this is the look that you have going on that trade. Okay, here it is. You're coming back down. You have a breakout or a pullback, the confirmation bar. Your first target should be at the previous high, okay, which is right up here. All right, that is your first target. And sure enough, I took off 16 shares at 197, and that's basically right there. And then ultimately continued to move higher because now at that point it changes, right? And then you're into a breakout trade, right? This is the pullback, and then here you have the breakout. And in this situation, it looks like maybe the market cycle changed, and I didn't like this candle, so I took the other 16 off at 201.70. So, you know, a small little profit there from 185 to 201, 16 bucks. And then here it is, it came back lower. And similar to last week, what we talked about in Disney, if you're into shorting trades, you know, maybe looking to set up a short trade right here as it is currently, okay? Breaking below that previous week's, or that box bottom, right? So breaking below support. Anyway, so that's what it looks like in a perfect scenario. All right, but I also have a trade on in CSX currently right now. You can see I bought 76 shares at 71. We'll shut those off for now. And here we have it again. So this one's a little bit different, right? But you still have that same idea where you have, all right, here's a breakdown, low, or the high is lower, 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 lower. And then here you start moving back higher. Now this one, I'll be perfectly honest, I did not get in right at this first reversal. All right, I was a little scared of it. Didn't look the best. All right, but then it had this nice big breakout to the upside. All right, so definitely a strong bar here. All right, so again, if that's my entry, here's my entry bar. Okay, probably could have got in on any of the other two, but this was my entry. The only thing that changes is just my stop gets a little bit, or my position size gets a little bit smaller because my stop is wider. My stop itself is below the low. My first target in this case is right here at 74.60. Okay, looking for that to get back up to 74.60 where it was. You could see we had some resistance here and then support here. All right, so I'll take a little bit off there. Then we'll see if we can get up to the next target, which would be around the 79 level. See what happens when we get up there. And if we can break out above that, then ultimately in this scenario, the channel top would be my next target. All right, so those are just different ways to frame, all right, two different types of trades. Talked about the breakout last week. This is a pullback. You know, here it is again. Same situation, right on the same chart. All right, lower high, lower high, lower high. You know, not really, but here it is right here as your pullback trade, and then off to the races. Okay, so it's a good opportunity. Keeps your risk very tight. Some people make a very nice living trading the pullback. I personally like the breakout, but I'm never going to shy away from a pullback trade if it's that clean, right? Because my stop is super tight, position size, you know, to the account accordingly, and it gives me a lot of upside potential. Right here, I'm risking, you know, $5, $7 on this trade, and it went on to make, obviously you're not going to trade it perfectly, but even if you got it to the first target, it made you $9. So it's a good risk reward, and then it has a little upside left in it. So that's 2 different ways to trade it. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section. Again, check out the weekly trading process e-course over on the website, jackrabbittrader.com/weekly process. And, it has some more information about these types of trades in there. Other than that, have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next week for our next video. Take care.